In this video, I will show you how to coil a mini vase using 3mm flax cord and some yarn. So this process is going to be very similar to all of the rest of my baskets. It's just going to be using smaller materials. So I will just take this flax cord and cut it at a slight angle just to thin it out. Now I'm going to hold my flax cord in my left hand and my wrapping yarn in my right hand. It is important to keep your materials on opposite sides to avoid getting tangled up. So I'm going to just place a little bit of my yarn over my flax cord like this. Now I don't want to go right next to where I cut, I want to go in just a little bit. So I'm going to start wrapping about here. And because this material is also small, you only have to wrap this a few times. So that's about 4 times. Now I'm going to take this end and just fold it in half. So once we fold, this little curve right here is round 1. Now to combine these, we just take our yarn and continue to wrap over both of them. That looks good right there. Now one more time, I'm going to take this small circle, which is round 1, and fold it down in half again, like this. So you want your yarn up here to align with the center here. So that's good right there. To cover that little bit of flax cord that is showing, I am going to make sure that when I'm wrapping, I intentionally go over that spot. So now you just take your needle and you go from the bottom, always from the bottom, and just push right through that hole. And then pull all of your yarn through. So I just cut a handful of this yarn. When you're using thinner materials like yarn, it's much easier to add pieces without having any bulkiness, so you can cut your handful shorter if you want. So I am going to intentionally wrap right here because I want to make sure that I covered up that little spot that was showing. Now I'm going to keep my left hand like this, and I'm only going to be wrapping with my right hand, and that is also going to eliminate getting any of the materials tangled up. I'm going to take this piece and go around my work and just wrap over the flax cord 3 times. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Now again, take your needle and go through that center hole and pull all of your yarn through. Then I take my yarn and go over both rounds like that. And then again, going around, doing 3 times. There's 3 wraps. Grab your needle, go through the center, and pull it all through. And this is all I will do for this second round. Okay, and I have 3 more. And then I'm going to go through that center hole one last time, and this will complete round 2. Okay, so as you can see, this is where my first little curve was, and this is where all of the rounds start. So I just completed round 2, and I'm starting round 3. So now I will just continue to wrap. So because of the material I'm using, because it's not as thick as the braided cord, what I'm going to do now is normally at this point, I keep counting until I get to here. But with this material, I am actually going to stop counting. And I am going to wrap until I am centered in between these spaces right here. So we have the double wraps that I did on my previous round. So I will keep wrapping until I'm in the space in between them. So I'll show you what that looks like. So like right here, it's kind of hard to see with the fuzzy yarn, but there is a double wrap here and a double wrap here. So anytime we go in with our needle, I call that stitch a double wrap because it's going over 2 rows of the filler cord. So I'm going to place my needle right here now and pull through. And then wrap over both rounds like this. And then again, I don't have to count anymore. Now I'm going to continue wrapping until I'm centered into this spot here. So I will just keep doing that for this base. So I will place my next one right here. So it's in between these two and it's centered. And that's it. I'm going to continue doing that for a few rounds and then I will show you how to start the sides. Okay, I am coming to the end of round 4. I know it's kind of hard to see with this yarn, but from the center here, there's 1, 2 that's covered here, 3 and 4. And then from the center going down, I can see 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I did want to point out real quick as I'm going, and especially because this material is both the filler and the yarn is much thinner, this gap right here is pretty large. So I'm going to be placing 2 double wraps inside of it. So that just means I will wrap until I get to just past this double wrap right here. And I will insert my needle here. And then I will wrap it a couple more times and place one more right there. So anytime there's larger gaps, that's what you want to do because that is what makes your basket sturdy. So right here is where I'll place my second one. And I'm being careful not to put it too close to the double wraps it's next to because I don't want them to cross over. So if you can see, it has a little bit of space in between. So here's my other double wrap, here's my other one, and then here's my 2 new ones. So I'll do the same thing in this spot. So I'll wrap until about here, wrap a little more, and then do a second one there. Okay, now I'm just going to continue wrapping and I will show you what to do next. I just completed 6 rounds. So this is the same process as any of my other videos. So if you're having a hard time seeing my stitches because of the yarn I chose, you can refer to any of my other videos. So now I am going to start the sides. So basically all I need to do is pull up on this filler cord and I am going to go directly over the previous round. So that just means when I'm wrapping, and you always want to make sure you're wrapping nice and tight. This is definitely not going to be a real sturdy vase like how the baskets are when I use the 3/8 inch filler cord, but it will still be really cute. So I'm going to just pull this right over the previous round like this. And then just go in with my needle and do the same process. Just making sure that I am wrapping this nice and tight and pulling that up. So the first round normally doesn't look like it's taking shape, but once you pass that round, it really starts to stack nicely. So I am actually kind of replicating the shape of this ceramic vase. So for the next few rounds, I will just continue to stack on top of each other evenly, and then I will show you how to actually shape it. So again, just wrapping nice and tight, and then going directly over the previous round. So I will continue to do this until I run out of yarn, and then I will show you how to add in a new piece. Okay, so I have my last double wrap right here, and then my old piece of yarn, the old tail, towards the front. Now I already cut my other piece, and I have the needle on the other end, so I am going to just place my new tail on the other side, grab them all in my left hand, holding it very close to that previous wrap, and then just bring it down and around and start wrapping again. So just really close to that previous wrap and then wrap over both tails. And once you have some of those tails wrapped and you go in with your needle, then you could go ahead and trim off any excess. So this is good right here. Okay, so I will just trim the rest of this part of my tail because I don't need it. And then just keep wrapping. So I will probably do at least 4 rounds of this, and then I will show you how to start shaping it. Okay, I have about 11 rounds, and now in order to get this to start going in a bit, I am going to be pulling the filler cord towards the inside. So in order to shape any basket, you just pull the filler cord in the direction you want it to go. So when I go in with my double wrap now with this stitch, all I'm going to do is make sure I am pulling this towards the inside of my basket. So with each wrap, making sure it's nice and tight, I'm just going to pull it towards the inside. So as you can see, it's already starting to go towards the inside a little bit. So as I do a few more rounds like this, I'll just keep stacking them closer and closer each time towards the inside, and it'll start to kind of go like that. So again, just make sure you are wrapping nice and tight, and then pull it just in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do a few more rounds like this, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so I just added another 4 rounds, and it didn't go in as much as I was hoping for, but I do believe it's because this is only 3 millimeters. I think this would actually probably work better if I was using like 1/4 inch clothesline, but this is still really cute. So now that I have it shaped like this, I'm just going to continue, but just stack it straight over. So instead of pulling it in, I am going to just lay it flat over it so that it should go just up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that next. Okay, so I already did my wrapping. Now I'm going to place my needle here. So now instead of pulling that filler cord in, I'm going to just leave it evenly on top of the previous round like this. So I'm just going to continue wrapping for a few more rounds, making sure that my filler cord stays directly over the previous round. And I'm hoping that it is going to achieve the same type of look as the shape of this, so that it goes out just a little bit and then goes straight up. Okay, I am just about done. So this is thin, but I'm still going to cut that at a little angle just to make it a little bit smoother to finish. So I just slanted that. And I am just going to continue wrapping until everything is completely covered. So I'll go in with my needle right here. Okay, and then once I'm at this point, I'm going to use my needle to wrap over it continuously until it's completely covered. So this will be my first one. And then again with my needle right here. And again. So it is good like this if you want, but what I like to do, especially because this is thinner, I want to actually work it back this way, back to the right, just to give it a little bit of extra coverage, making sure it's nice and secure. And if you wanted to, you could do a knot or any of the other fancier ways to end this, but I wanted to make it simple because I wanted it to kind of be like a coiled vase. So I think this is like the perfect way to end this. Okay, this will be my final one. And because this is all the same color, if you want, you can go back and forth and weave this all the way down to the bottom. Or if you are able to take the needle and slip it back underneath a few stitches, like this I can, because if it rips through, it's not a big deal because it's yarn versus the braided. Just go ahead and do this, and then I'm going to pull this through. Pull it down to secure it like that. And then I can very easily just trim that off. Okay. And so because I used flax filler cord, I can actually kind of shape this a little bit more after it's completed. Like this, I could just kind of go around and make sure I can kind of push this in a bit. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching.